Okay, for this next part, we're going to need one piece of 8.5 by 11. Of course, if you're working with 12 by 12, that will be fine too. And we are going to cut a 1/2 inch off of this, so it will be 8 inches exactly. All right. Up. Okay. And now we're going to make sure that this is going to slide. It shouldn't be easy, but it should, yes. It slides right down inside of our paper, okay? Which is what we need. Inside, in between the two. It's going into our tunnel, all right? That's exactly what we need. So now, I'm going to move this out of the way. And let's see. I was kind of hoping I could do it on here just so you could watch. So I'm going to do it this way. I need one that is 1.5 inches by 8. So I am going to put it at 1.5. Hold it down and slice it off. So that is my first. Then I need one that is 4 inches by 8. So I'm going to slide this in. Do it at the 4-inch mark. And there's that one. And then one that is 5 inches. I'll just put that in your scraps. You can always use black scraps. Okay, so now we're going to get our scoreboard out. On the 1.5 inch one, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch. Please make sure you've got it all the way down the side and all the way down against the side and against the bottom. Or top, whichever way you do it. And then at 1. So you're scoring at a 1/2 inch and you're scoring at 1 inch. So that's the way yours should look. Okay. On the 4-inch side, a 4-inch one, we're going to get it all the way across and all the way down. We're going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay. And then we're going to flip it over. And, wait a minute. I am sorry. Was that correct? Yes, that's fine. And then we're going to flip it over. I got confused for a minute. Make sure it's where it needs to be. 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay. So that is how yours should look. Now on the 5-inch, we're going to score the 1 inch. I mean the 1/2 inch and the 1 inch. I'm going to flip it over. Make sure we've got it all the way equal. The 1/2 inch and the 1 inch. Okay. So that gives us 3 inches in the center section. And this gives us 2 inches in this center section and a 1/2 inch for this one. Okay. So that leaves us a lot of room. So now we are going to fold the second score line. Make sure that you are lining up straight and then give it a nice burnish. And then here, again, score on that inside or second score line. Make sure they're nice and even and neat. Okay. On this first score line that we did not fold on yet, okay, this first score line here, we're going to go from the score line, trying to get it where you can see what I'm doing, from the score line, and we're going to take off a little triangle. Don't cut the score line off. You can set your scissors right in the little notch of the score line and just cut yourself off a little triangle. It doesn't have to be much, just a little triangle. But do not cut the score line off, because then it will allow your page to fall further than it needs to and they won't be even. So let me see if I can, I know it's black, but okay, so you can see the score line. I am notching, putting my scissors on the top part of the score line and cutting a little bit off. So you can see that score line is still on there and then it goes off. Maybe if I do it backwards you can see better. So I'm cutting right at the top of the score line is where I'm cutting off the paper. Okay, so you're going to do that with all of them as well. So let's get on with this. In the second score line, make sure it's nice and even. Give it a good burnish. Second score line, make sure it's nice and even and give it a good burnish. Okay. Snip it. Snip it. Whichever way you find it easier to do. Snip it. Just take your time and leave the score line. Okay. And then this one, we're just going to pick one of the score lines. Make sure it's even. See, now one side I'm over the score line and one side I'm not. So let's get this nice and straight. This is very thick paper, so it is hard with this paper to correct it. There we go. I think that's where I'd want it. Okay, there we go. All right, and then the opposite or far end score line is the one that we're going to do our cuts with. So the one side we're folding and the other end of it we're cutting. Okay. So there is all our pieces for Stack the Deck. Okay. So this is the widest one. This is the next one in, and this one goes in the center. Okay, so we have a 1/2 inch pretty much. And then we have some, you know, this is only 3 inches wide, so there's a 1/4 inch on both sides, which will give us a nice space to do a little bit more on the inside front covers. Okay, so with your 1/4 inch score tape, you are going to line the entire piece. And the score tape I'm using is only a 1/4 inch, but the plastic or the tape covering this plastic piece is 1 inch wide. So I will just be putting glue, or I'll take all of this off and run some more tape. I don't know. But basically, you're going to take your tape and you're going to go all the way across, because this is what's going to hold your book down. Nothing else. I mean, this is holding all your pages in. So you definitely want this to be holding very nicely. I just haven't gone up and gotten my other. I'm going to go ahead and lift this one and get this last piece down. Where is it? It's here. You don't want it to go over your score line. Oh, and that is it. Look, I had just enough. You don't want it to go over your score line. Let's burnish this all really well. You don't want any air bubbles, nothing like that. Make sure your ends are down nicely. It's good arm muscular stuff too. Builds them arm muscles up. Okay, so that will cover your back up very nicely. You want to cut off anything that's hanging over the edge. Don't cut your cardstock, just cut the sticky stuff. It will make your glue sticky. Your stickers, your scissors sticky. There we go. But usually if you are very careful, you can get it off with your fingers. Okay, cut off all that. This is when having those Teflon coated blades is really nice, because they won't get sticky. Won't stick to them. Okay, but these scissors that I'm using right now are Stampin' Up's Snips. I'm going to take a sip, excuse me. Thank you. Okay, so we've got 1/4 inch tape all around that one. Now, since I'm out and I still haven't gone and gotten my 1/4 inch tape yet, I'm just going to speed the process along and do right inside the score mark. Cut it off. And then this side should fit right inside. And if it doubles, remember, it doesn't matter if it doubles over or not. It will work just fine. A little bit of a... Oh, I can't see. I'm in my own light. There we go. And then we're going to cut this off. And I've got a little hanging off over here. There we go. So there's that one. And then that is a 1/2 inch. Geez, all I've got is the 8-inch one. 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to use the 1/8 of an inch. I'm sorry, guys. If I would just take a second. And we want to completely cover this one as well. And then you're just going to butt the next one up right up next to it. And then this one, so if you have a 1/4 inch score tape, you should be able to cover the whole 1/2 inch perfectly. If you're using an 1/8 of an inch or something like that, like I am. Or a 2/3, I mean a 3/8, 2/3. If you've got the 3/8 score tape, leave yourself in the somewhere on there a place for a little strip of glue. If you've got the 1/4 inch and you put 2 strips in, that's fine. You don't have to put any glue. But if it doesn't cover everything, try and get the score tape along the edge of the side that has the flap, because that is the side that, you know, is going to get the most use. So having the score tape down is probably the best bet for that area. Okay, so now this is 2 inches wide. So at 1 inch, I want to make a mark up at the top where my my center is. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And so we will be laying that right along those lines so that that will give us in the center parts an entire inch, which we really do need. But that way we can definitely have all the room we want. All right. And then here I want to mark from the score line. You can lift the score line up and push the ruler against it. Then I want a 1/2 inch. Well, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And then here, do the same thing. Can you see? Yeah. And make, let me make sure, yeah. And then make a 1/2 inch mark there. And do the same thing on this side. Roll this up. Make sure that the ruler is against it nicely. And make your 1/2 inch mark. Same here. Make sure your ruler is against it nicely and make your 1/2 inch mark. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and burnish this because I did not do that. Make sure you get all air bubbles. Get everything laying down nicely and smoothly. Pull the one that's underneath off first. And then go back and burnish down the tape. There we go. And then take what was on top off. All right. So now we have this. We have this. I have my marks, and that is where this is going to land in. You want to make sure it's even on the top and the bottom. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, so we will be covering both of them up, so it's not to it, it's over the top of both of them. And that was nice and even. And hopefully this will fall down. And it did not fall down nice and even. Come on. Okay. There we go. All right. So there is our first piece of the stack of deck attached to the other one. Okay. See, each one of these is going to have a page on it. And since we only have 5 pages, we're just doing one in the center. Okay. So there we'll have our pages. Can you see that? All right, so we're going to go ahead and take this one. All right, let me get my little pointy tool. There we go. Okay. Now this one didn't get all the way covered with tape, so I'm just going to put myself a nice bit of, I am recording and you can hear me. That's a good thing. I don't know how many voiceovers I've had to do here lately. And I'm just going to, where I don't have tape, put a strip of glue. There we go. And I've made my mark. And I'm going to put it right at the edge of that pencil line. And there we go. Okay. Ooh. And the more that you play with these, the better off they are going to lay for you. This is just some of the paper off of the score tape from underneath. That's if you're wondering what that is. Okay. All right. So I am going to have to break down and get some more score tape because we need 1/4 inch score tape. We need 1/4 inch score tape. Okay. Put my little thing in here. I will be back. I'm going to go dig out my score tape. It's really not that hard. I just having a time, let me tell you. Okay, so this will then get centered right there. And we will have space, 1/4 inch on both sides for our inside front and back covers. So that will be very nice as well. I could have brought this in a little bit more and left a little bit more space on the outside, but I knew that my center pieces were quite thick. This one, and this one. These three are very thick. This one's not so bad and this one's not so bad, but these three center ones are very thick. So that's why I went ahead and left some room for those guys. And then these guys will be just fine. Okay, so the other thing is 8.5 by 11 on this book works perfectly for covering the inside of your cover. And so that is what we're going to do now. We're going to go ahead and take off just one. Don't take off the second one, just take off the first one. And you want to take off the score. I had already taken it off, but you see how I've got the score tape in the center here. I've already taken it off in right here on the gusset, on the separation between the cover and the spine. It's already been taken off. Oh my God, I've got a hair in my face and it's driving me nuts. There we go. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and glue this puppy down. And I'm only going to go to right at the end of the front cover with my glue. I don't want to go any further on there than right there. Let's get some glue coming out. There we go. That's a little better. Don't go any further past that line. Okay. Now we're just going to lay this down right where we want it. It's nice and centered up top and at the bottom. And just let it fall right to the score line. I mean the score line, right to the edge of the chipboard. Okay, now flip it over, and I want you to lightly push in this centerpiece, and that is going to engage the tape that's there onto this piece of paper. And now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a burnish. And because there's score tape right at the end of the cover, you won't get any bubbling. All right, so we're going to go ahead and work this so it's nice and folded. That is about as far as you need to go, right about there. Okay, so now we're going to take off this score tape. We're going to glue the rest of this. And I put it all the way down in there so that I know I'm getting it everywhere I need it to be. Okay, so again, I'm going to start it by pushing it into here. Kind of bring it from the center. I'm pushing it into that spot plus making it go down. So there we go. There's our first one. And there's no buckling. Very good. You want to burnish everything. If you got a little glue squirting out, that's quite all right. Just get it. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing with another sheet. However, we don't need it to be quite as long. And I did get it at a little bit of an angle, so I think I'm going to overlap and try and fix it up just a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it as a regular size sheet. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm just going to double down on the spine area, which will be fine. So again, we're going to take the first one off. We're not going to release the second one. We're also going to take off the score tape. There we go. So, let me make a mark. We don't want to go past this point. So just so you can see what it was that I was actually. Okay, so we're going to glue. This mark was at the end of the back cover. So we're only gluing down the section to the back cover and then straight across. And then let's get it all over. I got the fan going so it starts to dry. It dries fast enough without that fan rolling all over it. But I can't help it. It's too hot. This little old Southern Belle is going to melt. Not really. I'm melting. Dorothy and your little dog too. Okay, so we're going to get this where we want it. Take your time. Get your placement right. Make sure the glue is stopping where we want it to stop. And let's go ahead and burnish down. I did a much better job keeping this one straighter than I did the other one, but that is quite all right. I'm going to have other things that will hide certain parts of it, so I'm not very worried about it. It's a handmade book. It's fine. Okay, so we have exactly where we need it. Now we're going to lightly burnish. And one thing I didn't do with this one that you can do with this one is actually put yourself a little bit of glue and then we're going to have to let it sit just a little longer than normal, but you want that to catch that, and it just makes it so much nicer. This one's pretty much dry now. See, when your book is opened, it looks nice. I'm just doing it really, really light, guys. I am not putting much pressure at all. Okay, once it dries, we can put more pressure. And then I'm going to peel the tape. Add more glue. And you want to make sure this holds, because this is on your spine and your pages are going to be pulling on it all the time. So you really want to make sure you've got a good amount of glue on this. So I'm going to flip it around now. I'm going to start by pushing into my seam here. And then I'm going to start flattening my bone folder. Once I got it bent all around nicely. If you do get some buckling when you're folding it, that means you didn't get it on that score tape well, that you forgot to burnish it down, or you forgot to take the backing off of it. And I have done that before, and I do have a way around it. I need to start doing those tips and trick Tuesday trimmings again on how to fix things. But usually I don't edit out my mistakes, so you guys can definitely. I try and make them learning experiences for you. Okay, like I said, just be gentle until you know how much your paper can take. Okay, and let's make sure that we're looking good here while that glue is still kind of wet. Now, we are going to let this sit and dry completely before we're going to move on to anything else. And I know I said I'm going to get my score tape. So that's what I'm going to do. And hopefully I don't rip my camera off its edges or anything. Oh, I don't have 1/4 inch. That's probably why I didn't pull it out before. I only have 3/8. Okay. So I will have to order some more. 3/8 will work, and I think I had originally told you you could get a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch and be totally happy with either one. They usually charge you more for the 3/8, which I don't understand that much, the reasoning behind that. But so now I am putting this in between the score lines. Where is my scissors? Right here. I'm putting the score tape in between my score lines. So you got a 1/4 inch, you put it in between your score lines. And we want it on both sides. And we will be cutting off, see, I'll do it this way because that's the cut. We will be cutting off anything that hangs over the edge. There we go. And burnish it with your fingers or your score tool, whichever. I don't know what I've got on me. Huh. And then we're just going to, like I said, continue all the way through all of these pieces, all of these flaps. Just getting it in the center. Don't stretch your score tape. If you stretch your score tape, you can make your paper distorted and it won't work right. Okay, stay in the center between the edge of the top and the score line, because we're going to be putting glue. That's why I want glue on the top, so it is a barrier. If you choose to leave these open and put a nice mat or something in there, you don't want it sticking to the score tape. Because sometimes if you do like pockets with score tape and you put your papers in there, the papers that you're putting in there can get stuck on the score tape and it can rip them, damage the score tape, or, you know, just make the whole thing not... Oh, my little puppy needs some attention, apparently. Hi, baby.
Yeah, 'cause you're going to be gone for a week.
Okay. So we're going to do that with the other two. So you guys go ahead and finish this up and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, so I have it on all 5, both front and back, and then we're going to burnish. All right. My little dog's playing in here, so hopefully he's going to be quiet for us. Okay, so burnishing on both sides. And the more you move these, the better off you are going to be. So now, in order to get this on properly, we have 1/4 inch on both sides, top and bottom. So, let's just make a little mark at 1/4 inch, just a light little mark. So we know we're going to put it in between those two. Let's find our center. going to put that right here. And then I made a little mark that's even with the quarter. Find our center. Where to go here? Okay. Make a little mark. And there's our quarter. Okay. Then, if you lay these flat, and I believe that our center, this is 3 inches, so 1.5 inches. So this center is your center. So when we go to put this down, we will line it up on the center line and line it in between the 1/4 inch marks, because they might be a little less or a little bit more depending on how, you know, perfect we were. So there and there. So that's where you're going to put it, just like that. So this piece is lined up with the center marks on your page. So let's go ahead. Now you had a 1/4 inch score tape and went all the way across with it. I am going to have, because of the nature of this tape that I used, some spaces in between. And that's okay too if you want to put like every 1/4 inch, then put another one and then skip a 1/4 inch, and you can use at that time, then you can go ahead and use glue in between, and that'll save some of your 1/4 inch tape. We're just about done with it at this point. But you know, no need in wasting it. It's not like it's inexpensive. For what you get, it's a good product, but yeah, it can be, you know, pretty pricey. Okay, so we're just gonna put right down along the score line on the spine side of the score line. You don't want to put anything on your flaps. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue on there, and then every place, if you did skip, every place that you don't have, score tape. And if you notice, I'm making sure I'm getting it on the ends nicely. Okay. So we're going to line it up. And lay it down. Okay, and then give it some good pressure. And then we're going to burnish each section. We want to make sure this is on there really well and that glue gets moved around where it needs to be. I'm also making sure that I've got a nice working fold on these puppies. Okay. Woohoo! Good job. Good job, guys. Now we can put the pages on. How exciting. Okay, let me do a little bit cleanup here. All right. So, you can start from the back or you can start from the front. And once you do it some, I'm going to go ahead and work on getting my marks erased. There we go. Okay. I do prefer to start from the back. So I am going to just glue one of these like this. Not glue it, fold one of these like that. Just get that little backing off. Okay, so you want to fold that down. Oh, and this one fell back. Come on. And fold that. Actually, I'm folding it the wrong direction. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's get the November one. So November is going to go to the back. Let's find our base tunnel. We're going to lay this in down to the first score line. You want to center, lay your page down, and make sure that you've got that where you want it. Let me turn it sideways. I'm not pushing down on it yet, so I want to make sure that it is straight. Looks good. And now I'm going to push down so that it is hooked. Oops, it moved. It moved. Let me see. Darn it. Okay. Up. Come on. And just pull that out of there. And then push down. Okay. Now we're going to flip it over. We're going to make sure that it looks straight this direction. It's just a titch off, but I think I did that myself. So we're going to try and push it down a little bit. Pull that tape out and burnish. With your, just get it nice and down. And I know I told you I put glue on there and I totally forgot. I mean, that will totally hold it. I just like to put glue. I am not going to put, I don't think I'm going to put anything in these tunnels. I'm probably just going to glue them together, which means it really doesn't matter if I put glue down. But usually I put glue down at least at the top, maybe not so much at the bottom because it'll show. But anyway, so now you've got your page. You've got a 1/2 inch gusset that will allow your page to stand up where it needs to have a little extra space for laying. Okay, now we're going to get our August-September book. Find your tunnel. Let's just do the one side this time. Fold it. Sorry, I'm always doing that. Fold it that way. Now we're going to slide this in. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm going to slide this into the tunnel. I'm going to lay it down. Make sure we're nice and straight. hold on now. Let's lay this down. Nice and straight on the next book. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this one first. So just get... Hooch! Leave that alone, please. So just get something in there, a little pokey tool or something. Let's make sure this is laying properly. Pinch it. Pull. And that came out just a little bit. Pinch it. Lay it down. Okay. Pull this one out and lay it down. See, this was not a great idea, putting it right at the spine, but because we have this little 1/2 inch part of our hinge, it allows it to lay down nice and flat. I want to show you how that's laying down. You see how that's laying down? See how it's using that 1/2 inch space to give it enough space to lay over on this so it's nice and flat. There you go. Okay, next one. And you just keep going down the list, guys. Find your tunnel. Let's go ahead and do the front first, because I can see better that way. Slide this into your tunnel. Get it up to, but not over, the first score line. Make sure you're straight with the other book, the other pages. Pull. Whoops, that came right out of there. Squeeze. Squeeze. And that one is that bulky one. So it's not laying nearly as flat, but that is that super bulky one. So, but because it has that room, it's still laying relatively flat. This one and this one are just really bulky, but that's okay. That's okay. It's all working out just nicely. When you lay them down like this, they're all right lined up with each other, so it looks very nice. Okay, now we just have two more. Two more. All right, so now we're going to get April and May. Let's pull this off. Partial way. Make sure you're getting the actual tunnel and not, there's this, there's our waterfall. The next piece is the actual tunnel. That's what you want to make sure you're sticking this in. Don't stick it into your actual page. That would not be good. That would not be good. All right. Go ahead and pull this off. And make sure I'm nice and straight. Pinch. Pinch. Lay it over. Burnish. Hooch, honey, what are you doing? He still thinks he's this tiny puppy and can crawl through anything. We have had to move furniture, I don't know how many times, to get him out from underneath something because he got stuck. He still thinks he's that tiny little puppy, and he's not that tiny little puppy anymore. He's still only 2 months old, so my husband and I did not want to get a large dog, but it looks like maybe we're... No, sweetie. No, you stay down. You stay down. Stay down. What's that? What's that? Get there. Get there. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull this one. And press down. Get nice and firm. Okay. And now we have our last one. And sometimes it's just as easy to lay it like this. So this is February and March. Make sure you're finding the tunnel. Lay it down on the pages so they all look nice and straight. Don't go over the score line. Pull this out. Again, make sure you're not going over that score line. Make sure you're lined up. Pinch and pinch. Lay it down. Oh, Hooch, honey, what are you doing to me? Oh, sweetie, these things in these drawers are not for your plate, your entertainment. No, not. He got in my spare little piece ribbon drawer and pulled out a ton of little pieces of ribbon. All right. So guys, we now have all our pages in our book. Isn't that exciting? There you go. Okay, so you have your February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and November. Yes! Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right, so now we only have the inside. What are you doing, Sweet Pea? You're a good boy. We have the inside front and back covers to do with the January and December. Let me do a little bit of cleanup here. And good thing you guys can't smell that this isn't smell-o-vision because my little puppy has tootled. Wow. Hoofta. Wow. Okay. All right. All righty then. Okay, so let's see. Got my sticker sheet. Oh, and I guess we're just not going to be using this silver. So that's a-okay. We'll have a beautiful silver sheet for something else. So I'm taking out the 2 January ones. We're going to go ahead and put our book to the side for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and get these cut. I'm going to figure out what I want to use and get this cut. And then I will be back to you guys, okay? And pull you out just a little bit. All right. See you back in a second.